Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the Lynn Life. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I did a video on a new model railroad project that I was going to be starting. Well, this is it. This is the first edition of me starting that project. And I've accomplished a lot already, but there's still a long ways to go. So let's get going. My name is Jonathan, and I'm a caregiver for my wife Lynn, who has a permanent brain injury. Things are a bit different now, but we're doing the best that we can. Join us as we experience the Lynn Life. Now, a couple weeks ago when I first started this, I was in the planning stages, and I showed you on that video how I actually started planning and measuring and figuring what was going to go in this new scene that I want to develop. And since then, I've actually started it. So I'm going to, this was all done over a week ago. You know, I've been trying to shoot this periodically as I do things to document it for you. And I narrate over it. So let's go back to the beginning when I first started the project. So this is pretty much what I started with. I've got to do some landscaping yet. I did paint it a little bit of a brown, reddish brown color, but I got a lot to do. So next I'm actually taking an X-Acto knife and I'm tracing around the base of the construction site model. And what's there right now is foam core board, and I need to cut that out so that it's going to be even with the rest of the scenery. So I'm cutting out the foam core board, which is glued, so I have to pull it out now. It's kind of tough because it is glued. Here, I'll put it in fast motion. How's that? So now it's moving along a little faster. But I did successfully remove all the foam core and get it to a point where we can actually put the base, here we are, putting the base in place. So now it's time to start building the girder construction of the site. Now that the area of the layout that the base will sit into is ready, and I have the base right here, so this is where this is the way it sits. This is where it will actually be built, is right here on the workbench. And then I can place it right into the layout so it'll be even with all the ground around it and stuff like that. So I've begun to cut out these little girders here. There's 4 of them that will go across, and then there's cross pieces that you'll end up putting in. Now, I've gone back and forth for a while with the actual color that I'm going to be using, and I decided on gray. The actual color gray here is basalt gray that I'm using, which is very similar to the actual color, the original color of the plastic. Now notice I only paint the front. It's a rule on my railroad that you only finish what can be seen. I do not finish what is in the rear that you cannot see. It's a waste of time and material, and I don't do it. So only painting on this side. I paint the sides, I paint the front, I paint the bottom. I do not paint the back. So that's what I've done now. Now on all 4, they're all painted. Did that yesterday. Now the next step is to rust them up. I've decided that gray was the color. I did my research. I researched from the 40s. Unfortunately, most of the pictures are all black and white, but I did find some pictures, or at least one picture, that showed a stack of girders, and they were indeed gray and they were rusty. So the rust was shown. So that's what I need to do now. I want to add a little rust. I've already done it on this one. I use this. I use these are washes, some effects here that I use. This is dry rust, and that's what I'll be using. I dilute it a little bit, and I just apply it, you know, here where it randomly to give it kind of a rusty hue. So I'll grab one that I haven't done yet, and I'll start on that. And let's see, grab a little rust, and I'm gonna throw some on here randomly and spread it out. A little more water in there. There you go. This. Put a little on top. Gotta be a little rusty on top with it. Can you see that or not? Can you see there where I've painted it all? Maybe you can't see it very well. But that's what we're doing. So this is a slow process. Nothing worth doing happens real quickly, especially in model railroading. You got to have patience. I find it quite relaxing, and I can sit and do this. I can think about other things. This doesn't involve a lot of thought once the process is started. And you keep playing around with that, and you look, okay, I like that, a little too much rust there, need a little bit more there, okay, that's good. And I think it's looking good. So that's what I'm doing. So when these are all done, then I'll start working on the cross pieces, and then I'll start gluing it together. We are going vertical. We've gone vertical with just two. There will be two more of these pieces right here. See, so there'll be another one here, then another one here, and I have put 4 of these crossed beams in so far. They're painted gray, but they are not. I didn't apply the wash for the rust yet to do that. I'll do that later when it's all in place. And I want to paint this base. I might do that now. And Justin and I were talking about this. Realistically, this base would probably be a concrete slab, I think, unless there was going to be a cellar. And I don't think there would be a cellar in this case for this building. So this would be a concrete base. I do have a little cutout here. That's because there's a little bit of a road in that area, and I didn't want the base showing there. So I'm going to put a little pile of dirt up in here eventually, and maybe another little, I don't know. I'll wing it. There's going to be concrete, but I'm going to put some piles of dirt and stuff in here too, because this is still under construction. And come along. I put it back in the spot it will go. It fit in there really nice, so it's pretty good. This is the unfinished side. Finished side. It's coming along. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this base right now. I want to show you a little trick, a little something that I can do and how to do it. This is this little white blob here. I've more or less painted the base here. That's how we're coming along here. I have the rest of the cross pieces, the beams going across there now. But I want a pile of dirt right here. So that's what basically this is going to be. And what I've made so far is, this is toilet paper. Basically toilet paper, wadded up and another piece over there, then Elmer's glue put over that to sort of create the base of the Elmer's glue, and hasn't dried yet, but that's okay. And so now I'm going to move on with my next step, where I'm going to use actual real dirt, sifted dirt, and diluted Elmer's glue, and I'm going to cover that and spread it out a little bit here, and it's going to look like a dirt pile. And I'll show you the results in a minute. So I really do. I have some wet glue on top here, and I'm going to put some more around it. A little bit around the base. There'll be more. It's got to go in there. And you're going to do this in a couple layers. I'm going to get these big chunks out of here. Then I'm going to wet it with a very fine mist. And that mixture of water, a little bit of dish soap, and a little alcohol in that mixture there. And it makes it wetter. And now I can put this is Elmer's glue in water, diluted. And when I put it in there, there we go. It just adheres to it. Put a little bit more in there. I like putting a little bit on top. You get a pile. There. Well, my little pile of dirt has actually dried already. And it looks great. I don't know how well you can see it, but I'm turning upside down. Notice nothing's falling off. It looks like a loose pile of dirt, but getting a little closer here. Looks like a loose pile of dirt. But it's actually, it's hard as a rock. So that's how you do it. Painting little figures now, HO scale figures. To do this precisely, you definitely need one of these. There's the guy I'm painting. Can you see him? Big guy, he's got a pair of like overalls on. So pretty tiny stuff. I got him mostly painted. Now I got to do the box that he's holding right now. See if I can. The other tough thing is that you're using so many different colors on one little figure, but it's worth it. And there he is. That's his backside right there. Pants, see his overalls. Alright, there he is. See his overalls. That's his backside. I gotta turn him around. There he is. He's holding a lunchbox and some tools. And he'll be walking along one of the girders at the top of the construction site. These little guys take a while to paint. And as you can see, it's very, very tiny. Here's my finger. Here's my finger. Just to give you a little perspective. So as you can see, the building under construction is coming along nicely. I got at least 2 figures on there. There's going to be a lot more. And as you can see right here, I did start building a fence, and this is the fence that I bought at the train show. So at least part of it anyways. And I've added some advertising, and I also added the new home of the Railroad Express Agency. So coming along. The next area I have to work on is this area right here. Sort of a gap. Now this is foam core board right here. Okay, and this is plywood. And the area right here is pretty much flush with the plywood, but this area is not. So there's a little bit of a gradient there. So I got to fill this gap with foam core, and I'm going to show you how I do that and make sure this area is flush with this area, and this area right here is flush. So there'll be a slight grade, and that's only on this end. This end, it's all pretty much even. So the board is not even, obviously. That's the case a lot on this railroad. I'm always having to make modifications. I'm going to fill that gap with foam core board. I use a lot of foam core board in my modeling. It's quite strong, it's easy to cut, and it's very, very light. And it has some other properties I like to use as well. I actually use foam core for some of my my roads, my automobile roads, because it resembles asphalt well. And the way I do that is I peel the top layer of paper off, and it leaves this kind of a little bit of a rough construction here, and I like to use that for it makes good asphalt. It's a little bit rough, so it's not smooth like a piece of cardboard or wood or something. This has a little texture to it. And it also can be used if one side needs to be thicker and the other side needs to be thinner. I can literally carve that down because the foam is easy to carve. So that's what I'm going to do in this case. So I'll take a pen or a pencil, doesn't matter, and I'm going to mark this area. Okay, so that's a road, I know that. It's going to come up over here. Okay, this is maybe carve out a little of this too, and a little of this as well. So that should pretty much do it. Gives me a little idea. So this piece has been cut and carved, and I even sanded it. You can sand this core, this foam core as well. The actual foam itself, smooth it out a little bit, so that all kind of matches. Now I can feel the grade coming down, kind of comes in and matches the grade here, and of course it matches it on this end. And I will finish this off. I'll glue this in place, and then I'll finish this off, and in these gaps I'll add a little bit of like kind of like a plaster material. I'll put that in and then sand that, so this will be perfect. You won't even be able to see the transition at all. So that's what I'll use in this area. So this will be the beginning of finishing this area off right here, because then the next step would be to start adding ground cover and painting road and things like that. So that'll be the next step. To be more specific, the product I like to use to fill in these little gaps like I just did is spackling paste. So it's a type of plaster, but I prefer to use that because it's already mixed. I don't usually have to use a lot of it, so it's there. It keeps quite a while, for quite a long time, as long as you keep the container really sealed well. and it works good. So I've applied some over here on this gap. I've applied some over here. Actually use either a putty knife or something like that to apply it, and looks fine. And then the next step would be to sand it a little bit. Now I would have this transition from this road to this here would be seamless. It'll fit nicely, and then over here will be a parking area for Pop's hot dogs, and Pop's will be over in this area. And then across from that should be a little lawn area, and I'll put some picnic benches that I got at that railroad show recently. So I'll put those over here, probably a couple of shade trees, things like that, and a lot of people and some automobiles. So it should look good when that's all done. Got this all glued down now, and I've used some of the spackling paste here to fill in these little gaps. This is nice and smooth down. Now the next step would be to paint this, and to start painting other areas just to give it a base color, like either green or brown, wherever there's going to be grass or dirt, whatever, just to give it a base color so the white doesn't show through when you're applying the ground foam or grass, or you're painting the pavement, things like that. So that will be next. And then over here, this area over here, you notice there's railroad cars there. That track is going to eventually extend, or maybe not in real life. It won't extend, but the idea is that if this is the the future home of the Railway Express Agency, there would be a track that would come out over here so that the train cars can unload. There'll be a deck or a dock, loading dock by the Railway Express Agency. So I'm going to have a bulldozer over in this area, sort of grading that area for the track to go in eventually. So, and I have the bulldozer, you may have seen it before, and I've got to build the bulldozer, and I'll show you what I got going on with that. Alright, so here are the pieces of the bulldozer. There's a lot of them. Okay, I'm doing this handheld and trying to show you. Here is the instructions. So this is what I'll be building. Okay, they aren't very good. And it's like reading them is kind of like a riddle. And you have to solve the riddle to figure out what part they want you to put on. The first step I recognize there is some pictures. I recognize that this is the first part, and I think this is the brace they want me to put in. It's going to go over here somewhere. Sit in there like that. I think that's it. Now this is metal. It's a metal kit. I do like the metal kits because they have a lot of detail. You've got to have a file or files, and to file off the little flashing there might be in certain areas, so you have to be careful of that. Also, when it comes to painting, you've got to prime it. I'll be priming this, and then you begin with the actual painting. I believe this is a Caterpillar. I think, I don't know if it gives me any painting instructions or not, but I have a color kind of picked out that I want to use for it. So this is yet another project. This scene isn't one project, it's a whole lot of mini projects. And this is one of the mini projects. Here's the tractors. This is the tracks, and that's kind of cool. So this thing's going to be highly detailed, so I want it up front so everybody can see it, and it's going to be grading. There's going to be a pile of dirt in front of it. It's actually going to be bulldozing a pile of dirt. You'll see that. So that'll be fun. I look forward to that. But I've got to get this built first. So, as you can see, I've accomplished quite a bit in a little over a week, but I still have a lot to go. I still got to work on this bulldozer. Here are the tracks. I've started that today, and you'll have to wait until the next video to see that complete, along with the rest of the stuff. I should, on the next video, I'll probably be doing a lot of the landscaping, started painting that, maybe starting to put down grass and dirt and things like that. I may even get into showing you my the static grass and how I utilize that. And I got more people to paint and things like that. I got some people right here. Here's some workers, a guy with a wheelbarrow here, and guys with shovels and stuff. I found a couple guys that I can put up into the girders too that look like they might be whatever they do when they attach the girders. What do they call that? Riveting? I think it's riveting, something like that. So I'll have some of that in there. There's a lot of details that have to be done within the new building, and then a lot of landscaping outside. I haven't done anything on Pop's Hot Dogs yet, other than start the road and the parking lot that will go. There'll be picnic benches and a couple trees. A lot of people. A lot of people have to be there in the scene with Pop's Hot Dogs. So that'll probably all happen on the next video, which a couple weeks. I don't want to just do this on the Lynn Life. I want other things. I want to be able to do other things too. So that should do it for this video. And look for the other stuff. Go back if you've missed the last one. And we'll see you next time on the Lynn Life.